Happy November, Wargamers. As we cruise on into the Advent season, I figured now would be a good time to step back and show you what we accomplished. Miniature wargaming style. We are going to be talking about the big project that's been taking up our time, AD&D, but we'll save that for the end. Most of you guys who tune in for these regularly scheduled programs, you're here for the minis. Remember Gaslands? We played a whole bunch of games of this back in the day. We played it at 10mm scale in an urban setting, a little bit of Mondo action. I don't think, have we ever played it in this scale? I don't know that we have. I don't remember. And we did play it in supersize scale, like, what is that, 1/6 almost in the park? It was great. Hey, check this out. The cars that I have use 25mm bases, and look at the size difference between the template and the car. This always bothered me. I have one of the best looking terrain setups around, and I haven't been able to break it out for a game because I was lacking the templates. Well, I finally got my hands on the motivation, to be honest with you. I have had some simple plastic card for a long time. It's a little flexible, it's a little light, it's just heavy enough for you to drop down and blast out that large template. Let's look at how big these are. And I printed off a page. The scaling was a little bit tricky. I used a glue stick to glue those printed templates down, and then I cut out the templates, scratched off the paper, and then I washed it off. And the great part about when you're using a plastic card like this, you can soak it for a little bit. That glue that comes in glue sticks doesn't stick well enough. It's almost like Post-it note glue. So you can clean the whole thing up, give it a good solid, what do you call it, primer, and then write out your templates. That's a little rough and ready. It's not great. Let me take a look. I'll show you the medium here. I used Sharpie, and I've got these fine. I actually bought these. Let me show you what I used for the, look at this. See this? This is a, what is that? It's an 01 fine detail red. Now, that's not the one I used on this one, obviously, because it's green. Let me find one with, there we go. So let's kind of take a little closer look at this, huh? See that? So I just kind of hand drew in the same as the templates, and then I used that fine. Because they're Sharpies, they kept smudging, so they're not great, but they're fine. A little black edge. This is important, I think. That little black edge will help these pop. I could throw down some grass to kind of show you how much better they look. If you left that yellow on the edges, just wouldn't look as nice, I don't think. So I went ahead and did that for all of these. Look at them all. You know, the slide, like I said, it's rough and ready. It's not quite as pretty as like the 3D ones. But when I looked at how to get to print up or order, I went to Litco and I asked them, hey, you guys sell the classic Matchbox car size, and you sell the 10mm size, and that's what we usually use. So here, take a look at the large template in the 10mm size. This will give you an idea how much bigger my like mid-size conversion is. And then I guess we could, I might as well show you. We'll compare all three. So most of you out there in internet land are using the standard, I don't even know what scale it will be, 1:60. This is the Matchbox scale. I cut mine down not quite by a half, and then again the 10mm. So you can get this scale or this scale. You can get the Papa Bear and the Baby Bear from Litco. I asked them, how much would it cost you to print up a Mama Bear here? And for the record, the flat part here should be about 25mm. It's a little wonky, based on the fact that I had to use percentage scaling and you know, kind of lining it up with my cars to see if they fit. And as you can see here, bring this back out to make it a little clearer, like so. That's off by a millimeter or two. These wooden bases that I have come from Litco. Those are gonna be 25mm. You can see my scaling is off a little bit. I suspect that when you're dealing with a case of millimeters like this, when I cut my template, if we take a look at this board again here, I cut out on the inside of the black border instead of the outside. If we had both of those black borders on here, then I think my templates would have been just the right perfect size. So what that means is I've got a little bit of slop. Line it up as best you can when you're playing, and if that 1 to 2 millimeters makes that big a difference, then hey, you know, we're all friends here. You know what I mean? It's probably not that bad. So not great. I did decide that because these templates were, I had one sheet. It was basically about 8.5 by 11. So I had a little bit of extra material left over. I said, you know what, I'll go ahead and make up a couple of whatever I can squeeze in there. So I do have 4 of these large templates, and I've got 3 of the small templates. Not quite enough. Probably need to print up some cardboard. But the nice thing about the plastic for cardboard, and then put some art on there, maybe even mock up some landmines, a little cotton ball smoke, you know, just to kind of represent what's really going on there. And you know, but otherwise, that took some time. I got a blister on my finger from cutting. What I do like about these, by doing this in ink, I have obviously 1 and 2. You can do hairpin, and then I use both green and red. And this veer is probably the best way to show that. In second gear, you've got the little gear. It's not the same as what you see on the dice, and then red. So green means you've got the free shift. Red means you're picking up an extra hazard. And there you go. If you ever decide to do that, then the one nice thing about these plastic templates is that they do have just a little bit more weight. That does give you a little bit more sticking power when there's a stiff breeze. Not a whole lot more, but sometimes that's just enough. And when you see the terrain setup I have, I think you'll understand why that is really not such a big deal. And of course, in this particular game, what are we doing? We got our car, we're putting our template down, and we're moving along. There is one other little detail I should show you, though. Little bit annoying. Compared to the cost of a professional. Did I even say it's 50 bucks? It would have been like 50 bucks plus shipping in order to get these printed by Litco. A little rich for my blood. Big thing is, for something like this, you know, I did pretty good there, right? This, oh look, there's a little bit of wiggle there in the medium and the slide, but some of these, man, some of these curved ones, there's like some serious shenanigans available here for people that want to get a little hinky with this. Boy, that's another one I did. Man, maybe these are better than I thought. There we go. This is a pretty good one, right? When we do our slide, sometimes that little couple of degrees can make the difference between an obstacle or not. Just remember, rule of maximum carnage. If you could hit it, you're going to hit it. Expect to see some Gaslands on the channel in the future. Hopefully this month. Such a good game. So much fun. I even went ahead and just kind of rough and ready. I've been having so much fun with the AD&D campaign. We'll talk about that later. And the purely tactile nature of the process by which we're solo campaigning, that I thought, man, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I made up a simple 4-car race, and I like this because we got 4 cars, and they really stand out. Purple, blue, red, gold. It's going to be really easy to remember who's who. King Booster, of course, is a confusing one. Kings wear the royal purple. I've got the golden child. He's got the oil drop and a ram plate. And, of course, it's WYSIWYG here, so you can see the little oil droppers. These are 3D print items that I ordered from Etsy. And we've got Blue Skidoo, who's got the bladed ram plates on the front. He's got a machine gun on front. And then, of course, the Red Hottie with the flamethrower, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, I should point out the Blue Skidoo has... Wait, which one? No, the Royal guy, he's got... We're not going to worry about all the, like, factions and stuff, but I wanted to see what happens when you hammer that booster. That's the one that it basically gooses your enemy vehicles, and they have to increase their... what do you call it? Their whatever gear they're in, it goes up by that many, which there's... If you wait for the right moment, you only get one shot, but you wait for the right moment, you're in second place. You tag that, 6 gear, they're going to pick up crazy amounts of hazard tokens, which for you Gaslands players, you know what a pain that is. And of course, they may be hoping that they're going to be able to pull out the veer or the hard turn. And if somebody's in 3rd gear and they're relying on that hard turn and you boost them up to 5th, oh baby. Car, meet wall. All right, so that's Gaslands. Let's take a look at something I'm very proud of. I painted something Might not sound like much, but remember I suffered, for those of you that don't know, I suffered a catastrophic eye injury on July 3rd of this year, and I've been really hesitant to take up painting. In fact, I still have a host of, let's take a look at these Iquen. This is how big these are. These are in 15 millimeter, and this not even close to being done Iquen. He comes from Alternative Armies. In fact, all of this terrain comes from Alternative Armies, and they're having a sale right now. I think it's 20% off everything in the store. They pass out free miniatures like candy. They're great. In fact, when I ordered these, I think you get 4 of these pieces. These are chimney pieces. There's the doorway, the corner, and then there's even some of these like interior corners, I guess you could say, 4-way intersections of the ruined walls, if you will. For about $40, this is not the entire collection. I just wanted to show you that, you know, even if you suffer, even if you're painting with a little bit of a disability, I don't have any depth perception. And what I found is I need a lot more light. Of course, I started with something easy. I've got 2 tones. I've got black and I've got white. I've got gray tones throughout all of this. And I did that specifically because I wanted to get back into practice on easy level. And frankly, I don't want to have to learn how to paint with one eye, because they should be able to correct my vision through surgery. And I'm not interested in learning a new skill that's only going to do me some good until I get it corrected, and then I have to relearn how to paint all over again. But I thought this would be a nice, easy way to at least, you know, get some experience. And maybe the surgery fails and I'm stuck painting with one eye forever. The trick I found, and maybe I'll even get back on the painting horse permanent, is that you really need some bright lights. And you see this, and of course you don't have any depth perception as you look at the screen, right? But if you look, you can see the shadow of my brush as it approaches my thumb, and bang, you can see just when the shadow meets the brush. And I think that's the secret. Now, I'm no hero. I've had a lot of support from guys around the hobby that have said, bro, I've been painting with one eye for my entire painting career. Or, you know, I've got 2200 vision and I've got special glasses. It can be done. And I do appreciate all the support. And I think it's important for you guys to realize that, you know, when you do suffer setbacks, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you just work a little bit harder, right? This is going to be a little trickier for me, but I'm feeling a lot better now that I have painted these. And they're great figures. They are, of course, resin, as you can see, but like I said, they're about $2 a piece for each of these pieces. And then I did add, because it's ruins, I added some loose brush, just a little bit of green on there to kind of punch it up, spruce it up, make it look a little bit of like extra ruined, I guess you could say. And then I was feeling so good, I thought, let's try something a little more difficult. Kablow! Look at this big orcish idol. Doesn't he look great? Unlike the previous terrain pieces, here, I'll show you how big they are compared to this guy. So there's our ruins, and these guys were really easy. It was just, how much dry brushing are you going to do? Spray paint them black, dry brush them gray, and then bone white, and then pure white. Of course, with the orcish idol, I decided, you know, I'm going to try to make the torso stand out a little bit more. So a little darker, more obsidian, a little bit of red in the eyes, and the tusks, of course. You can see the contrast a little better in his back. He's still got a little bit of gloss. I did dull coat him. Not sure where the gloss is coming from. A little bit of green brush, again, just to give it that little bit of nature feel. And this guy, you know, I saved him for last because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do these skulls justice. And I think I did. There's a little bit of detail work here, right, with the manacles. Some poor guy had to spend, whatever was it, like 104 hours. What's the movie where the guy cuts his arm off to escape? I like to think that whoever this is escaped and will be back to wreak his revenge. I threw a little bit of rust, a little bit of metallic, a little bit of rust on these helmets, and then, you know, here's a loving embrace of death. So that's I mean, I painted. That's got to count for something, right? And then just to kind of satisfy you with one other thing, this is the other ruined building I have. I finally think I have enough terrain to do some proper Rangers of Shadow Deep, right? Everywhere you go in that game, there's ruins all over the place. And this is one of the other reasons I chose the black and white. If you go to alternativearmies.com, they'll show you how good this looks if you're painting it in like a brick red color. He's got Some of them have white trim on the doors and then red brick, and it really looks sharp. Gives it a little bit more of a modern look, but the black on black, I just think that looks smashing, and it's going to tie the building together. I don't know that let me see if I can adjust the white light here a little bit. This building is a little bit lighter. Like what you see on screen right now is pretty good. The ruined house is darker than these, and that's okay. You expect to see that kind of variation. And, you know, maybe it's a little more aged. Variation is part of the natural world, so it's going to look great. And we'll close out with a brief discussion of the live streams that we have been doing on the regular. We have been a little bit lax on these lately, trying to get back into the full swing of things. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, if you're a war gamer, don't disappear. This is a war game. I know that the Johnny-come-latelys, those goofballs that showed up some point in the last 40 years, have decided that it's not a war game. I'm here to tell you it is, at least if you're doing it right. This is a war game that we fought that pit 80 goblins and 10 wolves against 120 dwarves, backed up by a spellcaster who forgot to take advantage of his spellcasting, and the dwarves split up into three factions of about three units of 40 each. The goblins stuck together, giving them a 2-to-1 advantage on the initial fight. And once the line broke, the goblins were able to just shove their way through the center of the dwarvish line. Everybody ran off. It was a total defeat for the dwarves. Really changed the dynamic of the campaign. Fascinating battle. It was so interesting. I made so many mistakes, not necessarily rules-wise, but tactical-wise. Things that I really should know better, having been a wargamer for so long. Don't split up your forces into three. You know, the thinking is, well, you know, we'll meet them at 1-to-1 wherever, and then that third unit can sweep the flank. That's not the way it works. The goblins are faster. Dwarves are stunty-runty. They move really slow. There wasn't enough time to bring the flanks in. Go with big units. It makes a huge difference. The other thing, one mistake I might have made is that none of the leaders on the dwarf side offered any kind of a morale boost. So when you don't have the morale, if you can't win the battle at the morale stage, it just makes it an uphill slog to try to win it at the physical stage. You've got to win the morale battle. And the dwarves lost that, and they paid dearly for it. In fact, the goblins were able to capture 20 dwarves. They'll have to be ransomed. I'm going to do another fight, just strictly off the books. I want to run through and see if I can hammer out, fix a couple of mistakes. So we're doing an orc versus elf fight, and just through the magic of the dice, we wound up with about 80 elves with two-handed swords, pretty heavily armored guys, going up against, I think it's 240 orcs. Oh boy, but the orcs are armed with spears, and the orcs are slow, and the orcs do have some crossbow, but the elves have, like, because they're using swords, because they're elves, they've got like a +5 advantage in the 2-hit numbers compared to the orcs. They're going to be hitting way more often. If they can stick together, if they can crack the orcish line, if things go right, there's a chance they could win. Anyway, there's a fascinating game buried in the interstices. There's a number of fascinating games kind of buried in the paragraphs of these rules, and people talk around them a lot. People speculate on them a lot, but people don't sit down and show you how these rules work as a perfectly serviceable war game. It's all in here, man. You just got to read the manual. Gary says it's 1-to-10. We used to have a series on this channel. Maybe we'll revive it in a little while. You can win at D&D. You can't. There are so many fun little subsystems in here. And these days, with the modern push towards simplicity and all things towards elegance, once you've used the game's mechanic, I will roll a D20 for that. You're done. You've explored everything the game has to offer rules-wise. Everything else has to come from a different subset of the experience. People focus on the stories because there isn't enough game in modern iterations of D&D to maintain your interest. This has enough game in the game to maintain your interest. And I would point out, one of the things that I find frustrating about the discussions that occur around the digital water cooler these days, there's this notion in tabletop RPGs that whenever the game gets in the way, you should just tell the DM to just make some stuff up. Because if there's one thing you don't want getting in the way of playing the game, it's the game. Like, the rules are the game. And if you aren't playing the rules, I don't know what you're playing. I mean, I do. It's a different game. It's called Mother May I. And so one of the things I wanted to do with that live series is just show people, this is a great game. It's a lot of fun. There's all kinds of room within the rules to explore. Not just the world that it generates, not just the stories that come after you're done playing, but the game itself has just all kinds of little wrinkles. I've been playing for 40 years. I've never done this. Not like this. I've never really thought about how does it work when you use these rules that scale from 1v1 to 5v5 to 80v80. And what happens if we actually have a fight with 5,000 on a side? If you've got 5 or 6 units of 1,000 guys each, how does that change the dynamic? These are areas that are worth exploring and experiencing for both tabletop role-playing gamers and war gamers alike. Miniature war gamers, look, you can see I just drew boxes, can get a nice little vicarious experience. It's not the same. It lacks the tactile nature. Some of us have that we like holding toys in our hands, and we like moving things. We like measuring. Now, I should point out, this 8.5 by 11 battlefield is to scale. Every ½ inch on the paper is 1 inch in the rules, is 10 yards. Every ½ inch is 10 yards. This is to scale. The units may be a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit smaller. There's a little bit of, you lose a little bit of resolution. But, if you can just unclench a little bit and understand that that loss of resolution is just the nature of the map, is not the territory, this is good enough. We're not so much interested in the process as we are in what the outcome is, right? This is very, it's process driven to achieve the outcome. We're not so worried about the outcome, provided that our process is okay. And that little bit of fuzziness, that little quantum uncertainty around the 1/8 of an inch mark, whether these boxes should be, a 1/16 of an inch smaller or bigger, that doesn't matter so much as the fact that we know we have an 8-on-4 situation here. That's what matters. And we know when these guys run, they're going to run at least, they're going to run 3 inches away. But before they do, we get to one last stab in the back. That kind of thing. Man, it's just such a great game. I hope you'll come along with me when you see that we've got a battle planned. Even if you're not watching the live stream, go ahead and give it a watch, because it only takes, it took me an hour to do this. I think it was an hour. The video was an hour and 10 minutes. The first 20 minutes was just kind of talking about the setup and the mindset that you have, stuff that we've talked about here. This is probably old hat for the guys who watch that live stream. But those of you that haven't, go watch these playthroughs. They're fascinating. And this idea of condensing, it might be an interesting experiment to play a game like Dragon Rampant on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and just sketching it out like this. This might be a viable alternative for those of you who are on the road and you want to fight a quick battle. You got your dice, you got your rules, you got a ruler, even just a 6-inch ruler. You can do it like this. Man, there's a lot to explore here. What a great hobby. There is a reason this channel is called The Joy of Wargaming, and I'm glad you guys are along for it. Hey, until the December update, I'm praying for you.